Good morning, Johnny.
Good
Welcome.
morning. Hello.
Lovely to see you.
You too. Afternoon here, but same thing.
Close enough, Let's see. There we go. Everything is in place. All right. Tech is fun. So yeah, happy Father's, I guess. Like you have fur babies, I think, right?
Yeah, he's right over
There you go.
there.
Happy Father's Day.
I would pick him up, but he looks comfortable. I'm not going to disturb him.
Yeah, don't disturb especially it's a cat, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, don't disturb the cat. And hello, Quentin. Welcome. Lovely to see you today. It's sunny where I am as well, so hopefully. Yeah. Oh. Hello, Mint with Card. Let's do it. And Mint with Card is a member, so let's welcome channel member Mint with Card. And the only way we do here at this channel.
Bring out the olive! Bring out the olive! Bring out the olive!
And enough champagne to fill the Nile.
Thank you, as always, Segal Godot, for one of your best performances ever. I feel like I really got like the life in her eyes in that particular. Anyway, thanks, Kyle. Yeah. It was my first attempt at like sort of stop motion / taking pictures and then splicing it together to try to make an image. So, not terrible. Anyway, we're going to color in this Masters of the Universe coloring book today. We both have the same book.
Yeah, I'm going to switch my camera over.
No worries. And I didn't have to send you a bunch of files this time. And I'm going to kill my camera so that you guys don't have to look at the part of my forehead. My 5 head, is the one guy told me that one time. And he was like, "You've got too much forehead to be on the internet." And now
very original.
Yeah, very original. So much so that I've angled my camera so it always gets my 5 head rather than most of my face. And people will comment on that, like, people should have their full face on the internet. And I'm like, I just want to make sure you guys see the feature, the 5 head. Hello, Heligeek. Welcome. Lovely to see Mr. Paul Galliano, who is the most handsomest man in Hollywood. Welcome. Lovely to see you today. Or no, the most handsomest man in Los Angeles. But yeah, so even though it's Father's Day, I'm going to do a Shira page. Since Shira can't be home on Eternia with her dad today. And they didn't give
her dad, who's not in the book.
Her dad is not in the book, so I don't know what's up with that.
I was going to do everybody's favorite, most supporting father in the universe. Randor's kind of a dick. But
Duncan?
yeah, I'll do Duncan since Randor's not in the book.
Yeah, Randor. Ugh, Randor. So I assume you have seen the Masters of the Universe movie.
I have.
And did you enjoy it?
I did. This would be the first time I talk about it, actually. I thought it probably could have been about 30 minutes shorter than it was.
Yeah.
And I was surprised at the amount of... Now, obviously, if you don't see a body, nothing's dead. But there's some outright murders in that film.
Yeah.
That kind of surprised me. Spoilers, in case you haven't seen it. Including, I think it was Karg getting just absolutely impaled into the wall in Snake Mountain.
Karg just never makes it out of these movies. Like, he didn't make it out of the 87 movie either. I think. But yeah, it feels like I know for sure him and Sarrar don't make it out of that movie either. So maybe he's maybe the Kenny of Masters of the Universe.
Maybe.
Oh my god, he killed Karg.
And then Duncan blowing up Trapjaw's face more than it was already ruined. But you know,
Yeah.
we just saw the ship crash. We didn't see a body for Trapjaw, so I'm sure he'll be back
Yeah,
in
Trapjaw
the
will be back.
in the sequel.
Avengers Doomsday or whatever it's called. Trapjaw will return.
Yeah.
Well, and that's the thing. I agree. Like, there was way more death than especially because there were a few people who saw it early. Some of the people who are negative about it, like, oh my gosh, it's so silly and it's so this. And I was like, so I went in
That's
sort of
kind of the point.
prepped for it to be just completely silly. And for something that was supposed to be so silly, there was quite a bit of, I don't want to say, and not ultra violence, obviously, because it was still very cartoonish. But there was
It
way
was
more.
More than I expected from MOTU.
Yeah, it wasn't. It wasn't softened in a way that you sort of, like it. It wasn't PG violence, right? It wasn't. So I don't, like, again, everyone's going to have a different impression, but I was completely, based on some of the reviews, I was surprised how hard some of that stuff went. And I think the action scenes were great. I do think that, like a little 30 minutes less would have been fine. I didn't I didn't notice that though until my second viewing of it, where I was like, oh, okay, we could probably cut that. The first one I was just so excited by the whole thing because it was just so much fun, I thought. And I have not had, a lot of. I've finished The Mandalorian and Grogu. I've seen it 7 times at theaters now, which is sort of my OCD rule. I have to see every Star Wars theatrical film 7 times.
Okay.
I've been doing that since 1977. When we saw the first Star Wars. I mean, the 7th time, to be fair, was April 1981 when it first said Episode 4: A New Hope. That re-release, but that's 7 times, and I saw each of the 3 special editions 7 times at the theater. So, that was hard because they didn't all stay at the theater. It's not like they were at the theater for months. It was like you had 2 weeks between. Well, it was a month between Star Wars and Empire, but Empire and Jedi were only like a couple weeks apart.
Right.
So it was hard to see those.
There's not many that I've seen in that theater that many times. The one that jumps to mind is I know when Star Trek Generations came out, the first TNG film. I went and saw that in the theater quite a bit.
I'm gonna agree with Paul Galliano here. The Goatman versus He-Man fight was shocking. It was, but I also liked it. Like, I'm a huge fan of Goatman. I know people are like, he's such a minor. Like, bitch, I did a video on Goatman on my channel. I made a Villain Obscura video about Goatman. So don't talk to me about
I seem to remember people being really excited back in the day when Goatman got his MOTU Classics figure.
Yeah. And for me, that, like, whenever they announced Goatman, I was like, okay, so the people who are making this at least are sort of making up for the mistakes of the 87 movie where it was like all new villains or whatever, where they actually, their canon fodder, I felt like was at least accurate, right? Like, so I don't know. Yeah, that was, I don't know, just in general, like I had a really good time with it. Anyway, what movie? So you said Star Trek Generations?
Yeah, the first Next Generation film. That was the one that I probably saw in the theaters the most when it came out. The most recent one that I've watched a lot, I saw it once at the drive-in, but when it came on digital, I've watched it a bunch of times. For some reason, Fantastic Four First Steps was just, to me, I really, really enjoyed that film, and I've watched it probably a dozen times through at this point. I think it's just the escapism and the idealism of that particular universe that the Fantastic Four are in is kind of like something I would like to see for real, but I think I called that wrong. I think that should be orange. We'll fix that.
Really
But
quick.
yeah,
Hello, Nolan. Lovely to see you today. Yeah,
I'm
I
sure I'll
think.
watch MOTU a bunch again when it comes out on digital streaming.
Yeah.
But I
Oh yeah.
I very rarely go to the theaters these days. I did go and see Mando and Grogu in the theater, and I saw
Well, and
MOTU.
that's what made sort of getting all 7 of my Mandos in hard, is because I don't go to the theater like that anymore. You know, like me going to see anything once is like sort of this event at this point. But I was just like, well, you can't break the cycle this late in life. I mean, I could, but what's the fun in that? Not like it's alcoholism or drug use or a Moby concert. Yeah, like it's not hurting anyone that I've gone 7 times. I'm just trying to make sure that Nicole Kidman knows I agree with her that the movies are back.
I'm so tired of seeing that ad.
Yeah, it's
At least
about
they've cut it down to about half the time it used to run.
yeah, like it's been like what 5-6 years now, guys. Like it's okay to. I mean, I guess with what they probably paid her, like they need to keep
Yeah.
playing it until
They want
can
to get their
afford,
money's worth.
until they can afford something new. But yeah, no, I've seen MOTU twice, and I think I'm good. I'll wait for it to hit Amazon streaming. But I'm also gonna buy it. I've entered a phase where I'm, like I never stopped buying physical media. I just don't buy as much physical media as I used to. But over the last couple, I would say the last year, I've decided I'm going to start buying physical media again and rely less on streaming services.
Huh, that's weird, Quentin. Quentin says he sat through all the end credits to see the very last final ending cutscene. Everyone else left the theater the moment the credits started. That's strange. You don't usually say that. People seem to know to stay.
Yeah.
I don't recall anybody leaving my theater until the credits were over.
I'm in a pretty small town, so like the theater in general, like despite what Nicole thinks, it's really hard to believe that the movies are back. And
Yeah.
and when I say my town, I mean like the like 45-minute drive to the next town where there's an actual movie theater, because that's how small where we live is these days. Which frankly, when I was in the Portland metro area with traffic, it was still 30 to 40 minutes to get to the theater anyway. So it really hasn't added time. It's more of a sort of perception of driving through the countryside and coming into a town to get to the theater. But there weren't a lot. But I also went like during the week, that first showing. I didn't go opening weekend for MOTU. I wanted to, and I had planned on it, and then it didn't quite line up. By the time I got to town and did the one errand I needed to do before the movie, I was like, I don't like people enough to go sit in a theater where there might be more people. So I went during the week, and there were like 3 other people in there, which would make sense for like 2 p.m. show on a Tuesday in a small town.
I actually took the day off work and went on the Thursday that it came out, and there were probably about 20 people in the theater.
Yeah, I should have just, and like when I went on Tuesday, it was like the whole point of that trip was to go to the movie. And that was the mistake I made on the Saturday I had planned on going. I was like, well, I'm going to go into town. It's Saturday. I need to go and run some errands and pick up a few things. And then afterwards I'll stop and get like some milk, and not really. I wasn't going to buy milk, but like the stuff they can't sit in the theater in the car for 2.5 hours while you're in a movie on a warm-ish day in summer. So,
Right.
and it was just like by the time I was in this, doing the errand that didn't require refrigerated items, and then I got to the theater, I was just like, I can't even. So I just left the theater and went and got milk and stuff. Well, again, not milk, but you know what I mean, people.
Sundries.
Yes. It was like a bunch of cheese and some frozen items. It was chicken strips and curly fries and frozen hash browns. So, because I that week made hash brown casserole breakfast for dinner and was out of hash browns. So, but yeah, that's how we survived. We've only had one real hot week, and that was last weekend, where it was like 90 degrees. Coastal Oregon is pretty nice that way. And so we did hash brown casserole. We did cold cuts, and I just made everything on the Thursday before, and everything was either in the refrigerator or throw it together. So that way, other than the microwave, not a single thing needed to be used to heat food. And I agree. I really liked. Again, we're at a point where, like, if you're not expecting spoilers, I apologize. But I really what I really liked about the She-Ra sequence is that they didn't do the Despara thing.
Yeah.
Spoiler alert, I'm not a fan of the concept of Despara. It feels like something they did so that She-Ra's hardcore for the boys. And that kind of stuff just, as you know, annoys me to no end. It's like if men aren't strong enough to enjoy She-Ra as she is, then the men don't need She-Ra. Stop trying to make.
I mean, I used to watch and enjoy Gem as a kid, and that show definitely was not made for me. So I don't know.
Well, that's what's really funny is a lot of the guys who sort of complain about that sort of thing are the same ones who want Gem as part of G.I. Joe Classified. And we'll talk about when I was a kid, I used to love the Gem cartoon, and I'm like, no offense, my bro, but I'm not taking away from your like I don't watch what you watch, right? Like, I think the whole concept of gendered cartoons and gendered toys, I think it's all stupid anyway. But it's just interesting to me that, like, Gem, which was sort of one of the most girl-coded things that Hasbro ever did, is one of their sort of things that they want to be brought into their boy thing. But honestly, I feel like a lot of them would be really, like, she would need to be tougher, though. Like, I have heard that conversation. Like, she needs to be tough. And I'm just
She's a pop star. Why does she need to be
yeah,
tough?
right? It's like, just let
Gem be Gem.
Right.
It would be neat to have classified style figures of Gem and the holograms, but I don't know
But
why
they
you would
should
want
be in
to.
their actual outfits. It doesn't need classified versions. Doesn't mean like Gem suddenly has like body armor and an AK and hot pink or something. Like, that's
No,
not
they could be. If you want to bring them into classified for some reason, make them like espionage style people, like.
Or they used to do the USO shows for people.
Yeah.
Back in the day, like
Captain America.
Yep. Yeah, like during Vietnam, like Nancy Sinatra went and played for the troops. There's so many ways you could do it that would be fine without having to make. I mean, that was what went wrong with the Gem and the Holograms movie, was they like tried to update it and let's add YouTube in there. And she's a YouTube singer who's hiding her reality, and it's stupid. Like, Gem needs to be a little silly. Stop trying to make it hard. I don't know. It's just It's for me, that's when stuff doesn't work, when you update it, when you try to go too hard with it or whatever. Like, there's a reason we like all the silly 80s stuff that we like. It's because it's a little silly, it's not too pretentious. Once you start trying to make stuff too tough, it just, you're taking away what makes a gem if you do that. So,
Speaking of it,
Hello.
it reminded me. I did. One of the things I loved about the Masters movie was his HR boss.
Yeah.
He
Yeah, that was
hilarious.
pretty. Again, I liked all of that. And hello, Brennan, and thank you. And thank you. Yep, I'm at what, 1,905 subscribers, I think now. So I'm getting there. I'm almost to 2,000. So thank you for mentioning that. It's weird. Like after you hit 1,000, the royal, you like, for me,
Right.
after 1,000, like that's sort of one of the big hurdles. And then after that, it's like everything felt like that's when you can sort of do some of the money stuff. And as I've often said, I'm never going to support myself doing YouTube, unless I completely change what I'm doing. And if you ever see me launch a second channel where I'm like, today we're going to talk about the stupid thing the celebrity did, and talk, then I've sold out and I'm trying to make money off of YouTube. But it's nice to be in a place where, like there's a little bit of money every couple of months from YouTube, and then I turn around and buy vintage coloring books. So
It's funny because I've seen a lot of, particularly the successful YouTubers, quote successful, with
right.
bunny rabbit ears, air quotes.
Yeah.
People who like skyrocketed to over 1 million subscribers, like Matt Colville did that with his D&D YouTube channel, and then I don't know if you've heard of Super Eye Patch Wolf. He does like anime and horror game videos, and you'll see all these people who give like influencer courses and tips, and this, you have to do this, that, and the other thing to get to 1 million people on YouTube and make it your job. But the thing you hear from all those people like Eye Patch Wolf and Colville is they don't really know exactly what they did to make it work.
Right.
It is a crapshoot. Like, that's why I've said since the beginning, I don't believe that you can game the quote unquote algorithm. It is absolute chaos. And that's all that it is.
My biggest short, which got me the most subscribers, was for Beetlejuice. And I'd done a couple Beetlejuice shorts before that had done fine, right? So I did, and I enjoy Beetlejuice, so it's not like I was just doing it because the sequel was coming out, and I was like, oh, I've already done a couple Beetlejuice shorts. Let's do one, and instead of using Beetlejuice music, let's use a song from the Broadway play. And I did that without realizing that sound was trending already.
Okay.
And then it was trending, and then of course that blew up around the movie. So like I that short ended up, it's like currently it's like at 95,000 views, so it's under 100,000 views, and I got like 500 subscribers from that one short. So that knocked me over 1,000 like in a day. And I'm gonna tell you guys, for everyone who says, oh, it's so cool, like that was the most stressful like 48 hours of my life, because suddenly there are all these people, and and I do, it's like I did some Beetlejuice content before, and I've done Beetlejuice content since, but my whole channel wasn't Beetlejuice. So I was really, you have that thing where it's like, oh, are they only gonna want to watch Beetlejuice? Like, am I a Beetlejuice channel now? So I don't know. There are people who chase that and want to make money doing the like survivable, you can pay for your life money doing content creation. And for them, like, I hope it works out, but like, it was very stressful. I don't, it was good that it happened that way, because I was able to take a step back and be like, what are my actual goals, and I was like, I just want to make a little money to help pay for the things that I use to make content, like, you know, so that I'm not spending all of my own money, like basically like just throwing it at coloring books, you know, like to take the edge off of that monthly luxury budget, if you will. And I feel pretty, you know, like I don't ever stress if like when a video flops, and they flop often, since I'm not making content to since I'm not chasing the algorithm, and I'm not doing clickbait stuff or whatever, like, you know, stuff flops all the time. I have got a video that only had like 8 views, and over the last year it's like to 15. But again, that doesn't, I'm like, oh, I wish more people would watch that, but it doesn't ever ruin my day. I don't get depressed and upset and be like, nobody's watching. It's like 7 people watched that video and obviously enjoyed it, because, you know, like, it tells you how much people watch of the video, and it's like the 7 people who watched it watched like 70% of the video, which is not bad for any video. So, I don't know, you know, like, I know a lot of people that also do YouTube. I'm not going to name any names, but they really do chase sort of building their channels in a way where it's like they have a lot of subscribers and they're making a lot of money. And I also note that those people seem really stressed whenever a video doesn't land. Yeah. And I think I would rather continue just making stuff that interests me and having people on like yourself that I enjoy hanging out with, and I feel like I'm doing all right. So I'm sure somebody will show up to tell me and my forehead are wrong, but that's okay. It's okay.
That's like, I'm thinking the thing that we did on Geek the F Out that had the most views is and we're not even a toy channel. It was when I got the Eternal playset, like one of the first ones to get it, and we did the live going through it. That has over 10,000 views now at this point.
I remember that, right?
The next closest live on views is when we had the MOTU Revolution stream with Ted Biaselli and Nate Barch. Yeah. Which has 588 views. Like, that is
great. No.
That was a massive cliff.
Yeah.
And then our videos, which all the videos were Star Trek stuff, the TOS watch rewatch. The Man Trap, the first video that we did, has 400 views, and that's the most views we got on any video.
Yeah.
And our subs were weird because we got to we bounced between 480 and 495. We never quite hit 500 before we just kind of stopped streaming.
Yeah, you guys are kind of on a break.
I mean, it's been so I did a couple of those casual chat streams, which were fun.
Yeah.
But the last thing that we did with Kayla was Severance in March of 2025. So it's been over a year. She's been really busy.
Yeah, which, you know, like, when you are not paying your bills with YouTube, you can be really busy in your actual life and not have to stress about, oh my God, what's going to happen? And I meant with, like, that's the thing. When I hit 500, it was huge. When I hit 1,500, you know, like, I hit 1,900 last week. For me, it was like exciting when I saw the 1,900 pop up. But it wasn't like let me tell all of my friends. It's like a personal accomplishment when I make these numbers. Let's see. Wait, let me jump back because I missed much.
That's one of the things that Super Eyepatch Wolf said in one of his streams about being a creator. He was like, when he hit 1 million, he saw it, and he said, I looked around and everything was the same. Nothing changed.
Like I still have to, you know, like I hit the 1,900. I was excited. Well, you know, when the Beetlejuice happened, I was really stressed. But then a week later, everything was back to normal. Like, I'm getting my normal views because it's my normal content. I'm getting the same engagement from, you know. So yeah, you know.
We talked about doing a MOTU stream on GTFO, but it didn't happen.
So okay, really quick, Paul. It sounds like they Hannah Montana Gem, kind of a little bit. So Gem in general has a secret identity. It's more like Hannah Montana has kind of stole some things from Gem.
Yeah.
But the problem is the Gem movie feels like, rather than going back to what made Gem Gem, that Hannah Montana would kind of borrow from it. They tried to make a copy of, I don't want to call Hannah Montana a copy because there are a lot of people that grew up with that show and loved that show. When I saw Hannah Montana as a grown-ass adult, I thought, wow, this is like Gem. So I think that's kind of the problem, is Gem and Hannah Montana are kind of alike anyway. And so they tried to update it by reheating, as the kids would say, reheating Hannah Montana's nachos. Even though Hannah Montana was kind of already a reheat of said nachos. So like it did, whoever wrote it was trying to be clever and smart, and that never works. You have to just, you know, like you can't try to, you're either clever or you're not, and when you try to be clever, it just doesn't work. And it just didn't work. So
it's like those what's that friendship bread where like you get like a cup of batter from someone and then you make your cake and then you give them, and it's like perpetual stew, but it's a baked good.
Yeah, exactly. So like, you know, and again, like, no shade to Hannah Montana, because like, you know, that was a big deal for kids of that era, but it just feels like everyone involved with what happened with Gem didn't get the silliness of it. Was part of why it worked. You know, the 80s in general are kind of a silly, tacky, gaudy decade, and that's kind of what we all loved about it. Like, I was a, you know, sort of, you know, a kid, teenager, you know, like my childhood and my early, you know, my tween years, and, you know, through like, I was like 16 in 1990. So like, you know, like I got the best of all of it, you know, like my childhood and teens, childhood 70s and 80s, teens were the 80s and the 90s, and then my 20s were the 90s and early 2000s. Like, it was just great time to be that age, in my opinion. Sure, people will disagree. But I kind of like sort of the, you know, got to have the last analog childhood. So, yeah, and there are things I did as a teenager that would totally get me canceled as a teenager today. But since it wasn't all broadcast and people can keep their mouths shut, you know, teenagers do stupid stuff. I do. That is the only time I'm going to sound like an old person about social media, is I wish kids had the experience of messing stuff up like you do as a teenager without it being broadcast, you know. So anyway, enough old people stuff. Let me get to this comment, because I thought this is a good one, Quentin. Could you imagine if they made classified Care Bears or classified Cabbage Patch Kids? That would be, yeah, agreed. Like, and but the way they would do it is they would just take the symbols from the Care Bears and just put it on T-shirts or whatever, and then we would get human characters. And Kenzo, happy Father's Day. You are, I think, of all of my members, I've got, now that Brick is a member, I have 3 dads, but Kenzo, you know what that means.
Bring out the olive! Bring out the olive! Bring out the olive!
And enough champagne to fill the Nile.
Oh, God. Most welcome. At some point when I not at some point. Pretty soon I'll be to a place where I have enough content, coloring content, um, stockpiled because I've been filming videos ahead so I can take 2 weeks off in July, but also so that I can work more on other content. There will be various videos about Gem and other Pink Isle toy lines of the 80s, 70s, 80s, and 90s. I never watched Beverly Hills Teen when I was the demographic for it. I watched it. My friend Derek J. Hoover of the Yesterday's podcast, they did an episode on Beverly Hills Teen, and that was the first time I watched it. As an adult, I found it very cute and charming for what it was. So, and you're welcome, Kenzie. So, but again, I also watched it knowing it was sort of its time, and not like in the way we say that when something's like racist or just, like it was made for, it was very much a product of like that time frame. So
right. And it's like we had a discussion about this at our D&D group because we were playing a module that was originally written in the 70s. Yeah. And we were talking about like it's definitely a product of its time, and a lot of people say that as like, I don't know, an excuse, or like it is what it is, it's like, it's not, we're not trying to reduce the fact that it's wrong,
right?
Like that some of the ideas that are in older media and things like that are not great, but it's just like understanding that if you want to engage with that stuff, you have to understand that we're, I guess, more evolved now than we were then. Right. Like, it's wrong, but it was accepted and expected in those days. So that's why that stuff's in there. It doesn't mean that it's right. It's still wrong. It's still either racist or sexist or misogynist or what have you. But that was the outlook of the vast majority of society at the time. Was like that stuff was okay and accepted,
especially with something like D. Because I recently watched a video on the racism of D&D, where they were talking, like certain factions maybe are sort of comparable to, it's sort of like how when you watch The Phantom Menace, there are some racial stereotypes in there that George Lucas may not have realized that he was putting in there, that they were subconscious. And that isn't, I'm not just talking about Jar Jar. Any of all of the unintentional racial stereotypes that Lucas accidentally put in The Phantom Menace, Jar Jar to me is the least offensive. Watto. But I don't know that was something George Lucas did intentionally. I think if he had had better, fewer yes men around him at the time, it maybe some of that stuff would have been caught. But I think with D&D, it's sort of the same thing, where it's like, it was a very, like if you research the guys who wrote the first D&D module, they're a very specific shade of cracker. And, they may not have realized that some of their choices had racial implications or subtext. Because you don't necessarily always catch that stuff. So I think
I don't think they even thought about it. They were socially inept war gamers. That
So I think, and there's difference with that type of, even Masters of the Universe has a little bit of that going on. But I think there's a big difference when something is there because people didn't think about it, or the group of people making it weren't aware, or, like we're missing the subtext, and there's a big difference in people who know it's there and are intentionally making that. So I think it's really important to have some media literacy and some ability to read things with critical thought, but also understand sort of like you said, the social mores of the time, where at the time, like most of the people, the guys finding D&D, who founded D&D and wrote all of that stuff, probably weren't even aware that these were stereotypes, because you didn't have sort of the education, you didn't have class, like women's studies were still a thing happening at that phase, right? The concept of any sort of college level class discussing things like race or, you know, bias or anything like that, just not happening yet. So like there wasn't even necessarily conversations happen. The broader conversation of the time was like, it's right after the civil rights movement, which is sort of a big, like, we need to not have segregation, which is a completely different concept than, here are all the subtle ways we reinforce this mindset. You know, like the subtle ways that sort of thing is reinforced is a nuanced conversation that you have to get past segregation to talk about. So just my 2 cents on it. I could be wrong, and I'm happy to be wrong. But that's sort of how I've always looked at it. It's like, we can go back and we can sort of discuss these things now, but we can't necessarily go back and condemn people who did this stuff in the 70s, 80s, and 90s as if they were bad people, because we hadn't gotten to a place where we could have those discussions or even have sort of an insight into our own behaviors and how society shaped us in 2020.
Yeah, they weren't as widely introspective back then. I think part of it too is the internet being so prolific and widespread these days, like that you have more of the, hey guys, this is not a great outlook. You didn't have that.
This is a weird
like
choice.
it was isolated echo chambers all throughout the country back in the 40s to 80s.
Oh, you know, like long distance phone, or like, you know, like long distance calls were expensive. If you had family in another state, you rarely talked to them. And that's what's funny, because, you know, like I watch a lot of true crime, and they'll cover these cases from like the 70s and even the 80s where people, you know, and before like the 50s and 60s, and people disappeared. And there was one case, I forget the name of the victim in the case, but like this woman like moved to like California in like the 60s, and her family didn't report her as missing till like 8 years later. You know, and they hadn't talked to her on the phone in 8 years. She hadn't come home to visit, and people in the comments were like, I would know like within a week, you know, because my daughter didn't call me. And it's like, but back then, the long distance bill, you couldn't call your family every month, every day, every week, because you had, you know, like until even at first with cell phones, like it wasn't quite set up in a way where you could just call people. So if you lived in, say, Chicago and your kid moves to California, like you're not talking to them on the phone, maybe weekly, and it's not like you're having a long conversation. You're writing letters, and it's really, if you're not the sort of, you know, like your kid's not a big writer, like you're not thinking about until time goes by, because technology, it was expensive to call. It was expensive. Even when I first moved to Oregon and my family was all in Texas and Louisiana, like if you didn't have a cell phone, long distance was, you know, like I didn't call home a lot because it was expensive. Like, and then I got a cell phone, and it included, finger quote, included free long distance calling, and then I could call more. So like that's a nuance that's lost if you're not old enough to remember. Like, you know, long distance calling wasn't always a thing. And hello, Stu, Universal Toy Collector. Thank you for popping in. Well, I don't know if you guys have Father's Day in the UK, but if so, if not, happy Father's Day anyway. We're in the US, we're celebrating Father's Day today for those who celebrate their dads. So, happy Father's Day, Stu. I'm sure I want to say like you guys have it, but it's a different time of year or a different weekend or something. So I should study British culture beyond the young ones. Absolutely fabulous. The Spice Girls and Keeping Up Appearances. So, but if you're going to study British culture, those are good places to start. Because as they say, people of the world spice up your life. Who's your favorite Spice Girl, Johnny?
It was Posh.
Posh. Of course it was Posh. That makes sense, Johnny.
Followed by Ginger.
Yep, no. I 100% see both of those.
The old reliable Wikipedia tells me that it is the same day, so it is Father's Day in the UK today.
Sweet. Well, happy Father's Day then. Excellent.
But she probably won't see it. But a shout out, happy Father's Day to James of Invincipod and live action Star Wars and
He probably will not. Yeah.
I think that's it.
Ralph and I still need to get Ralph on here so we can color some Green Lantern, but just between his schedule being his schedule, it was really hard to get lined up.
Yeah, he's busy. I ended up, which I guess will sort of soft announce. I ended up making a character for him for the streaming D&D game that I'm planning.
Yes, which I'm going to be a part of. So
which you will be a part of. Yeah,
everybody's
got their characters made now.
Excellent.
So we just
have
to check.
Johnny is going to. Oh, sorry.
I have to check the poll and see if anybody else said what the best date to do it is, or best day of the week, and then we'll figure out what day.
Yeah. No, everyone. It's going to be fun. I've never played D&D, as you know, but people watching may not know this. I've never played D&D ever. And I've always wanted to, and then so you had this opportunity that you were like, hey, let's do this thing, and I was like, I'm in. And we're just gonna hope that I don't embarrass myself too much. But I've never thrown a fit when I've lost anything outside of Monopoly, and I don't know anyone who can be a good loser at Monopoly. So, I mean, I'm sure it's possible, but I don't believe anyone who says, I've never lost my temper playing Monopoly. I feel like that's a lie.
Yeah, it seems like that seems hard to do.
Everyone at one point or another has made the joke, nobody ever lands on Baltic Avenue, and you make fun of your cousin or your brother or your sister or your dad or whoever, put all those hotels on those two, and then you land there and get wiped out. And then you flip the Monopoly board, and everyone's like, oh my god, grow up, Allison.
I'm looking at a Man-at-Arms reference, and this is not at all correct, but I'm making the crests on his helmet orange.
Oh yeah, no, that's fine.
Everything I look at, they're blue. But it feels right to have them orange. So.
I think I did that too, because I colored some of that page. Well, most of that page. I didn't finish Clawful when I was here with Dad. Oh, I did the middle crest I did do in the aqua blue, but I did the other ones red. So, because it needed to be broken up, and I did him as if it was Aldris Elba. So I'm like, I can change it because it's classic Man-at-Arms look, but it's not Duncan. Well, it's movie Duncan, so I was like, I can do that.
Yeah, and he was a great Man-at-Arms.
So cute call. Hello, welcome. I'm glad to see you today. Liked Ginger Spice, but their friends thought they were baby. Same Samantha, but forced to be Charlotte. See, I'm very much Carrie Bradshaw for doing Sex in the City, and I know that people think she's terrible, but I very much probably a little closer to Miranda in my older age, but in my 20s and 30s, I was very much Carrie. My Spice Girl was obviously Scary Spice and then Baby Spice. So
I never watched Sex in the City, so I'm not. I remember everybody talking about, I'm a this, I'm a that, but
yeah. No, I very much was Carrie Bradshaw. And at the time, it was when I was really focused on my writing, so that obviously makes, added a layer to it. And I also used to do the same thing she did, where I made up names for I still do that to this day, where I make up names for my exes that aren't necessarily their real. That's how we got Carl number 1 through number 7. Spoiler alert, their names aren't all really Carl. It was like a generic name for the type of men I used to date. And I will tell you that the Carls don't enjoy knowing that they're all Carl now. Even the handful that were actually named Carl don't enjoy that they're all Carl. So, the Carl will be okay. Which did you get, the core or the Chronicles? Or I have the core Tila and technically the core He-Man because I got it for the Goat Man, and then I've got the Origins Beastman and He-Man. So,
man, I tapped out. I haven't gotten any of the new figures. I think I'm done. It's just I ran into the same problem with classics. Like near the end, I was almost relieved when they said they weren't doing any more classics figures because I was like, I can't anymore. And I've kind of reached that point with Origins too. I think the most recent one I got was the sketchbook Manny Faces, who is really cool. But it baffles me because did you get that figure?
I did. I haven't opened him yet, but I have him.
So he has the gimmick where you turn the dial on his head and you switch his faces. But it has like I think we talked about this actually when we had a call to discuss the D&D character. It has like locking detents where it locks the head in place, but they're like between each face instead of on the face. And it drives me nuts.
I haven't opened mine yet, so I don't know if that is something specific to yours or if they're all like that. Anyone in the chat, if you know, let us know. But I'm still all in for Origins.
I haven't picked up. I picked up the 2000X Evelyn.
Yeah.
And the 2000X Trapjaw. But I haven't gotten any of the other 2000X Origin figures, and I probably won't.
Yeah, they're all...
Unless they do a faceless one.
That would be cool. That is what I am... And I will say this for the other version of the Filmation cartoon collection. I really wish they had done more original characters and not as many refreshes. And so far, 2000X has just been refreshes. And I find that disappointing because of the faceless one. There were so many cool new characters in that cartoon that like really need, in my opinion, new figures. And I don't care if they do them as sort of like an Origin style where they're adapted, like I'm okay with that. And they already gave us a couple 2000X style Origin figures that aren't cartoon collections. So I'm happy to get the new characters anyway. And that's sort of why I did core. Like I got the 4-pack that came with Goatman because obviously I needed Goatman. And there's no necessarily guarantee that they're going to do Goatman in Origins. I feel pretty confident that at some point they will, but we don't know. They might not. So I was like, I definitely want Goatman. And then I got Tila as core because I get, like all the lady figures. And then the only Chronicles I've ordered, and they're pre-orders so far, are Tila and Evelyn. So...
I would have gotten the 2000X Tila Origin figure, but they used the same head sculpt that they used for Evelyn, and it does not work for Tila.
didn't realize that was the same face sculpt. It's weird.
It's got that weird, like, conniving smirk.
Yeah,
And it just
she's got that smirk.
it doesn't work for Tila, so she looks weird.
Yeah, I noticed the smirk. I didn't realize it was the same head sculpt. I just thought they were making a stylistic choice. So, I guess I will see whenever I finally open all of those. It's just as I set up the room, I'm trying not to open stuff until I have the space for it set up. I'm going to finally open a bunch of my Loyal Subjects mask stuff this week. And then some Alien Resurrection toys from the 90s. I've got the Ripley and the Call, aka Winona Ryder figure. So this will be fun. And then I've got my action figures.
I remember that period in the 90s where they were making kids' toys out of all sorts of R-rated.
Yeah.
Like they had Terminator and Aliens and Predator and RoboCop.
But I think it wasn't Terminator 2 Judgment Day PG-13, or am I wrong? For some reason, I thought they did the second one PG-13. It was definitely less violent, and other than Arnold's butt, there was way less sex and nudity in the sequel than the first one.
Yeah, because the first one was a straight-up horror movie, and the second one was just kind of like an action flick.
Yeah, they definitely... Yeah, the second Terminator was definitely... It's too bad none of the other movies have been good for Terminator, because those first two are pretty solid.
Yeah, I've watched all of the Terminator films, but I don't really remember any of the ones besides T1 and T2.
I went and saw the... I've only seen one of the sequels at theaters, and that was the one with... what's her name from Dragon Tits? Emilia Clarke.
Okay.
Yeah, Dragon Tits lady. Sorry, that's what I call that. What is that show with the dragons?
Game of Thrones.
Yeah, that one. Dragon Tits. Because you're going to see dragons and you're going to see tits. And every week a character you like will be horribly murdered in a terrible way that makes you hate your life. Which is why even I watched all of it, but Matt keeps rewatching it because he really likes it. And he's like, I'm going to rewatch Dragon Tits. You want to watch it? I'm like, I'm good. The first time was enough. But yeah. Anyway, I stopped watching The Walking Dead after Glenn. I was like, I can't do it. I made it through the comic book when this happened, and I was unhappy about that. I'm not doing this. I'm not doing it anymore. As soon as I didn't even make it to that episode, as soon as I knew they were going to actually do that, I'm like, no, we're out. You made me suffer through all of these extra seasons with Shane. You can change what happens with Glenn, guys. And they didn't, so screw that show.
Man, I'm looking at Clawful references, and he's weird. His design is so all over the place from iteration to iteration.
Yeah. Yeah, the original figure looks like a mangy Muppet. And then in the Filmation cartoon, he looks like a weird snapping turtle thingy. 2000X, he looks sort of like somebody notched up the Muppet look. All the things. Oh, we already looked. Sorry. I was like, is that one new? Yeah, no. Clawful, and it's weird because as a kid he was one of my favorite figures.
Oh yeah, I love the Clawful figure. I love just snapping his big claw.
But he also had in my opinion, one of the best pun names from MOTU. Clawful. Why? Because he's awful and he's got a claw.
I just realized how many of my favorite MOTU characters are ones with big right hands. Like Clawful's got the big right claw. And then Fisto and Jitsu were two of my favorites.
Yeah.
Rio Blast over here was one of my favorites as a kid. Not Trapjaw. I was never a huge Trapjaw fan. Triclops. Triclops was probably my favorite of the Evil Warriors.
Yeah.
I just his whole design. I dig the way his color scheme and his armor. I dig the kind of, I don't know. It makes me think like Roman gladiator style kind of harness that he has. His sword. I love the design of his sword.
Triclops was my first Evil Warrior figure as a kid. Because my brother was more about MOTU growing up at first. Like 1982, for me, was all about three things. A Strawberry Shortcake and her friends, they all got pets. That was the year that they added a pet as a pack-in for every doll, which did mean that I cried until my mom bought me a second Strawberry Shortcake so I could have her cat Custard. The Annie movie came out, and Annie was big. And then there were more Empire Strikes Back action figures. That was like 1982 for me. And the way my brother and I, as kids, worked was like some of the toy lines we collected together. And one of those was Star Wars. So like when I came back from summer vacation, I had at my grandparents' house, I had picked up all these Strawberry Shortcake and Annie toys. And I was expecting a bunch of the Star Wars stuff that we needed would be complete because my brother would have been getting those, right?
Yeah.
Plus Smurf PVCs, because in the 80s, every year was about Smurf PVC figures. I get back and he has these stupid looking chunky baby toys. Which was Masters of the Universe, and he had He-Man, Skeletor, Beastman, and Man-at-Arms, and I'm like, these are stupid. They're so big and clunky, whatever. I was not impressed. And then I found the mini comic in the car, the floorboard of the car, because that's where he threw it after he opened his toys in the car on the way home from the store. And Tila was in it, and she was like bonking Beastman on the head. And I was like, oh, who is this? So he got like Merman and he got Stratos, and that Christmas he got Stratos and Castle Grayskull and Merman. And then for my birthday a few months later, I got birthday money and I found Tila and Zodak, and those were my first two MOTU figures. And then my next one was Triclops. So he was like my first Evil Warrior. And Manny Faces and Evil Len were my next two MOTU figures. So, and then once they released Evil Len, I'm like, okay, I like these toys. Can't wait till I get a Sorceress figure. And then it took many, many years to get a Sorceress. So, yeah. And then She-Ra hit, and I was just like, oh, yep, you're good. And I looked at my brother, and I'm like, I hope you're okay, because I'm going to be buying She-Ra stuff now. So it's up to you to complete the He-Man. But actually, at that point, my dad was making really good money, so a lot of the He-Man toys were just our toys. Like, my mom would just go to the store and buy stuff. And we would come home from school, and there would be a giant bag of KB, all the new He-Man figures. So
I'm trying to remember.
That period was spoiled.
Yeah, I remember I had the regular He-Man and Skeletor, but my primary He-Man and Skeletor were the battle armor ones.
Yeah.
And then Thunder Punch He-Man came out, and you got to put caps in his backpack, and he made the snapping sound, and you got the little cap smoke smell.
Yeah. Yeah, that was one of the ones she brought home from KB in a giant bag. Dun, dun, dun. Let's see. I like the 2000X Sorceress. I am looking forward to the cartoon collection version that's coming. I would not buy the Mondo. I don't buy any of the Mondo toys. They're way too expensive for what I consider for brand new items. And that's not like,
Yeah.
oh, if you buy those, you're terrible. Like, buy what you like. For me, like, if I'm going to spend that kind of money, it needs to be a giant play set, such as Eternia or the Snake Layer, or it needs to be a vintage item that I've wanted for a really long time. I also tend to prefer toys that look like toys, and for me, the Mondo stuff looks too realistic. So it just doesn't fit my vibe, but for everyone it does. I'm really excited that you're going to get what you want. So
Yeah, Mondo's not. It's outside my price range, for sure.
yeah, like, and this is like some of the coloring on them is a little different. So I think some of that though is plastic, and the difference in how plastic ages versus now. Oh, hello, Alex. Welcome. And Alex is also a channel member, so you know what time it is?
Bring out the olive! Bring out the olive! Bring out the olive!
And enough champagne to fill the Nile.
Anyway, so yeah. But yeah, so it took me a while. Long story short, it took me a while to appreciate the aesthetic of Masters of the Universe. At first, I was like, "What are these big chunky baby toys?" It took Tila and Zodak arriving on shelves.
Zodak's one of my favorites too.
Oh, mine too. He's so cool. He looks like I've got a couple. Whenever they re-released Zodak as a fan favorite, and he became easy to get in Origins, I bought a lot of extras to make Cosmic Enforcers. And one of them I'm going to paint. I'm going to do an orange and white, and find a lightsaber that will fit him, and he's going to be my Origins Luke Skywalker X-Wing pilot. I'll have to change the arms, of course. But I was like, he will make a pretty good, X-Wing pilot Luke in Origins with just some orange paint. So, looking forward to getting everything set up so I can start painting toys again.
One of these days, I'm going to end up getting a 3D printer. And I found someone did a custom, like, Lynn as the Cosmic Enforcer from the end of Revolution.
Oh, nice. Yep, I think Kenny at Kansas Creation has one of those, I think. Pretty sure that was you, Kenny. You're still in the chat. I feel like that was the one that I think they showed on Toy Habits at one point.
I think that might be right.
I mean, I don't know that and correct me if I'm wrong, and you're still here, Kenny. I don't know that Kenny sculpted it, but I know he printed and painted everything. So there are some things I think he buys and paints. So it's true. There we go. All right, we're caught up on chat. So yeah, but yeah, it was really cool. Like, I'm surprised. I don't know. At some point, I'm hoping with Origins we get, like, I would like an Andra in Origin scale. I've got extra Andras, so I can, in theory, make one an adapter so she has like a, like vintagey look to her.
Yeah, it was interesting. I was kind of surprised because there was that character. Who was that character in the movie? Was it Tion or Dion?
Diane.
The chick that like shoves Adam into the cell.
Yeah.
I guess I did research afterwards. I guess she is a vintage character from like a comic or something.
From the newspaper comics. Yep.
Yeah, I had never heard of her before, so I like kind of expected that to be an Andra, but then I was like, oh, that's a deep cut.
Yeah, really deep cut. So hopefully we get her in Origins and Core. Like, I'll buy a Core figure of her as well, especially in her outfit from the end of the movie. And she's a ma'am at arms. And that's what they need to call the figure, ma'am at arms. I'm still like waiting for an origin scale Ram ma'am.
I would love an Origins Ram Ma'am. She was my favorite from that CG show. I loved that character in general.
She didn't get enough screen time. Oh, sorry.
I have the kids line figure that they did of her, but I would love a proper Origins version of that figure.
I bought some components to make an Origins version of her if, like the day never comes where we get that figure. But I do feel like at some point it's possible, just as they get to the end of actual vintage figures in Origin scale, that we, especially because they're doing sort of the cartoon collection, like I would not be surprised if we get some Origin versions of the 2000 and X figures. I'm sorry, of the CGI figures. I also liked Masquerita, like the girl Mosquito.
Yeah.
I bought extras of both of those from CGI when they were severely reduced to like $3 or $4 on Big Bad Toy Store, so that worst case scenario I can make customs of both Ram Man and Masquerita, I guess is how you say it, in Origins.
That's what I eventually got the Masterverse CG He-Man and Skeletor because they went on sale somewhere. They went on sale for like $7 each, and I was like, well, for that price I'll get both of them.
Yeah.
But originally I hadn't picked them up. But it's a shame that those are the only two that we got in any version besides the kids line that they did.
Yeah. Well, for the the CGI cartoon, there was an Origins version that was not for that He-Man 4-pack.
I did eventually get that 4-pack. It went on sale because that 4-pack was expensive.
It was, and I missed it when it was on sale. And by the time I was like, okay, let's go see if it's still on sale, it had finally sold out. And that one for the New Adventures He-Man in that set. That was the one I really wanted from the set. But I also feel like at some point Origins will give us we'll get some New Adventures figures.
They could easily re-release those two as normal figures, and I don't think people would complain, because one of the draws of that set was that the weapons were all vac metal.
Yeah. But if they're doing a cartoon collection, like New Adventures was a cartoon, guys.
Yeah, it was.
And that is the one thing that happened in Classics that Origins has not yet, in my opinion, properly. I feel like Origins has done a really good job with deep cuts and new characters. But I feel like it's just completely missed the boat on New Adventures. And I think what a lot of people didn't like about the figures that Mattel did back in the 90s, like 1989, 90, for New Adventures, is how out of scale they were with the vintage He-Man toys.
Yeah.
I remember my brother getting them a couple, like, he had the He-Man, he had a Skeletor, and I think he had Butthead. And I remember picking them up, and this is well out, it's like 1989, 90. I was not doing toys at the time. I was a comic book nerd, busy chasing boys and listening to music. But I remember thinking, oh, these are dumb. They don't fit with the stuff we already have. We had everything. We had Eternia. We didn't have all of the vehicles, but we had all the play sets, all of the figures, except like Sarad. We didn't have Sarad or Blade or those stupid top figures. Everything else, though, that was released in the US, we had. So, but I remember thinking that, and I think that's part of where they messed up, was not sending He-Man to space, not doing, sort of rebranding it, but just not making them compatible with all the toys that everybody already had bought, and that people were still finding at garage sales and yard sales and I was still on the, at that point, we're still on the discount aisle at KB.
Yeah, or I remember there was a local novelty shop near me that did like, balloons and like
Yeah.
party decorations and whatnot, and they had a section of MOTU toys that were like, at that time I think $5 a piece.
Yeah. Chef Allen would be cool. That would be a fun box set. I still sort of thought from when they did Filmation, we didn't get like Shikati, we didn't get Icer, we didn't get. Yeah, and they could easily go back to Filmation and do more Filmation figures. I do feel like a big part of the reason we're getting 2000X already in Cartoon Collection was because of the Mondo 2000X. Mattel wanted to make sure that, there was an affordable version of those characters out. And with Mondo doing all the advertising Mondo's going to do, it means they don't have to spend as much on advertising. So maybe Mondo will decide to do a new Adventures line, and then that'll help. Fingers crossed, Mattel. Maybe Mondo should do a full Princess of Power toy line, so that Mattel will finally get off their ass and give me the She-Ra toys I've been wanting for decades. Well, not quite decades, but at least 6 years since they announced Origins.
Yeah, because what have they done? They did She-Ra.
Yep.
And
they did She-Ra. From the vintage toy line, they've only done She-Ra. They did do, in the Cartoon Collection, they did Bo and Catra and Frosta. Okay. And then in Masterverse, they did Catra and Frosta and She-Ra. I know people are going to be like, oh, they did Shadow Weaver. Shadow Weaver was not a vintage Princess of Power figure, so that does not count. It counts as Princess of Power Cartoon Collection because she only was on the Princess of Power cartoon, but that doesn't count as vintage Princess of Power. I don't care what you say, Mattel. And releasing the Horde villains in Cartoon Collection and claiming that's Princess of Power is... that's gaslighting, Mattel. Stop gaslighting me. Those figures were Masters of the Universe when they were released in the vintage toy line. Releasing those does not fulfill your obligation to give me Princess of Power toys in the 2020s. Oh, but no. So yeah. You can't fool me, Mattel. I know better. Okay.
I think I finished my dudes already.
Excellent. I'm going to embiggen you really quick so that people can look at what you've got going so far. Very nice. See, everyone, some people do the people first in the background second, not me.
I was gonna say we flip flopped. I did the people first. You've been working on the background the whole time.
Yeah. And ironically, I just finished the background as you finished your people. So there you go. Anyway. Now I'm going to do the energy bolt around her sword. But yeah, so yeah, I was having, like you can't see it yet because it's still boxes everywhere. That's one of the things that is going to happen when I take my 2 weeks off and next month in July. I'm going to spend a lot of time trying to finally get my studio set up. All the toys, anyway. Or at least get more of it done so that I'm not completely surrounded by boxes. But I have been trying to organize many, many boxes of Power of the Force figures. and so that those can be properly displayed. And I'm gonna say something I never imagined I would say. I have too many Power of the Force figures. And when I say that, because I've got, so far I've counted 17 stormtroopers.
That's a fair amount of stormtroopers.
From the first stormtrooper, the one that looks, not the good one that came out later. I've got.
I was never really into Star Wars. I'm not familiar with Power of the Force. Like, I know is that the line where everybody was like big and beefy?
Yep, that's the one.
Yeah, that's about all I know of it.
Well, I made a video last year in December that tells you everything. I'll send it to you later so you can watch it. It's got all the history from 1985 to 1995. But and that was some of why I started going through it, was so that I could like take pictures of a bunch of stuff for that video. But also, I've got an entire shelf that's going to be for Power of the Force, and I was just like, why do I have 5 of this terrible Han Solo figure? And the answer to that is truly, I have a problem. But also, like, I was like, well, I'll go through and I'll do the display. And then all the extra stuff I'll put into the custom, because it's not like these Power of the Force figures are worth any money. So I'm just going to go through and make an entire thing of custom fodder, so that once I get back to making figures, it'll be cool. I would love, Quentin, if we got some Sailor Moon and Sailor Scout figures. That would be really cool. Aw. Well, Albrick, wait, before you run off, it's important for you to know you're a member now. So
Bring out the olive! Bring out the olive! Bring out the olive!
And enough champagne to fill the Nile.
All right. Thank you for being a member, Brick. Every little bit.
Howdy, Brick.
counts.
Good to see you.
Hello, Beyonce. Welcome. Lovely to see you. Oh my God, Andrew, you arrived just in time. You are just in time for the olives, and exactly. Perfect timing, Andrew. Because we've already, let's see. Mint with Card is here. Alex is here. We've listened to the olives at least. Kenzo was, so yeah, like you just arrived in time. So, to hear Brick's welcome. So, yep. Andrew was here with me last week, everybody. If you haven't watched it, you should go watch it. We colored Bionic 6. So.
Oh, Bionic 6. I love the Bionic 6.
And there was
never
never a color. Oh, sorry.
It's not well remembered.
It's not. There was never even a coloring book made, so I had to find animation models that were in black and white so we could color those. So.
I remember the figures were like they were very G.I. Joe like, but they were die cast in parts.
Yeah, because it was made by Matchbox. And so, Matchbox. Matchbox. What's it famous for? Little cars.
Renowned action figure maker Matchbox.
Yeah.
What is it? Bionic 6 and Voltron? Didn't they have Voltron too?
I think so, maybe. Yep. No, that sounds right.
They had like the smaller. They had like. I remember there being 2 Voltrons. There was like, maybe a 6 to 10 inch one that was die cast metal, and then there was like the 18-inch one that was all plastic that had the pilots that could sit in it.
Yeah, those were the ones we had. Well, I had
That's
the
what I had too.
Blue Lion, and I had the castle, and then my brother had everything else. So. But that was a pretty fun toy. That castle was amazing, and it also worked pretty well scale-wise to be Princess Leia's castle Alderaan. So, playsets in our house got to do double duty often. All right, what am I looking for? Not that one. I need to organize these better. It's on this little container next to the where I film, and the goal has always been so that they don't roll off the table, and then at the end of recording I will put them all away. And I put them all away before when there wasn't a container to put them in so they didn't roll away. But now what happens is I don't put them away. They sit in the container, and then it's a big old mess. So I have to work on that. That's also though, because like I said, with me with me taking this time off and trying to get stuff sort of banked so that the algorithm doesn't completely hose me for missing some time. I've been doing a little extra filming that I normally wouldn't do. And so by the time I finish filming stuff, I'm just like, I'm just gonna go to bed. And then I watch YouTube for a bunch of time to catch up on the bricks and minifig stuff. See what's happening in the Lego resale drama this week. That's a wild story if you have not watched it.
It blew up on Reddit a little bit, so I heard some stuff about it, but Lego's kind of outside of my.
It is technically outside of mine too, but it's just taken over my FYP because it's turned into like a police corruption story and how rich people are evil and exploit the poor, and it's got everything.
Also, that reminds me, when you said FYP, I have a little bit of a pet peeve. People, just in general, that's not how hashtags work. Hashtag FYP is not going to put it on people's For You page.
Yeah, that's true.
That's not how it works. That's not
work.
how hashtags work.
No, you know. People gonna people.
Unless someone searches hashtag FYP, it's not going to show up.
Yep. I don't care what the TikTok guru is telling you guys.
I did, I don't know if I mentioned, I did end up buying 2 of this book.
Yeah.
Because since it's double-sided.
Yeah.
If I want to, like, tear this out and, like, put it in a frame or display it or something,
yeah,
then I wouldn't be able to do Faker on the other side.
It's true.
So I had to get 2 copies, which I've also just noticed. I don't know if you can see. It looks like the pressure of some of the coloring has some of the black from the line work on the other page has bled over.
It does that, which is why, if you'll note, mine has this backing page.
Yeah, so I'll have to put
this.
I have a paper towel here. I'll have to put more down more.
Yeah, with these kind of books, I use the backing page for that reason. And it's just a scrap paper or something up. Like this one, I was printing some vintage Masters of the Universe, and this is how I discovered that my ink cartridge was going out. And I looked down and I'm like, oh, well, there you go. But it works out because now it's a backing page. And because the ink was going out, there's not enough of the ink from the printed page to imprint onto the page behind it. So that's a behind the scenes scoops, guys, of what happens here at Retro Toy Princess. So the sausage gets made. Making the donuts. Anyway, yeah, no. I thought with a lot of the DC books that I get, I will get 2 of them so that if I want to use alcohol markers and there's something on the other side, I can do so.
Right.
But with this one, because I was like, well, let me get it and see what's in here. Since everything in here I have either from the original book, I have everything in this book from the original books that they're from. So I was like, I'm not going to worry about that because this book is I think I mentioned this also. For those watching that weren't privy to the behind the scenes convo Johnny and I had before we went live, I'm just going to use this for streams because I've got all the original art printed on much nicer paper. So no offense to the publishers of this book, but my paper's bad. I spend a lot of money on paper, so I have nice paper. So, but yeah, so this is for streaming, and I am gonna again, I've got a few videos that will drop instead of the live streams while I'm gone, and for one of those, I'm gonna do a couple Shira pages from this book for that video. So, because technically it's where the live stream. Again, I've got a really weird form of OCD about stuff like this. So because I'm going to drop the video that I'm making where I would normally live stream, it's okay to use this book for that stream.
Right.
This is what it's like in my head, guys. Welcome to my world.
That was one of the... I get it. That was one of the things with GTFO. Like, I wanted to always keep the Star Trek individual episode stuff as recorded that premiered. Yeah. And then we streamed everything else. So, like, you see much different content if you go to our videos or go to our live streams.
Yeah, like, and that makes sense. Like, it's hard to... It's also, you know... Like, sometimes it's hard to mix it up a little bit, especially when your head is just like, this is how it needs to be, this is how it should go. Yeah.
And then so, for those who care, we are currently recording season 3 of The Sundered Veil.
Ooh.
The
excellent.
The live streaming roleplay game that we did on Twitch. It should be the final season, but you never know.
Excellent.
It might be another one.
That's exciting.
We've got 5 episodes recorded, and there are probably going to be about 5 or 6 more before to do the end of the season.
To do a full season?
Yeah.
That's cool, though. It'll be fun once we get all of the D&D stuff figured out. Like, I'm excited for that. It's gonna be really fun. Because I say so. And anybody who says differently is gonna have to talk to me and my 5 head.
Yeah, it should be a good time. It's gonna be just like a one-shot, one little adventure for everybody. I think the Shiny Plastic Chris, Quip, and Ralph are the only ones that said they had actually played before at some time. But
yeah,
Quip, I think, is, aside from me, the one who has played the most. It sounded, but he hasn't played since like 3rd edition D&D, if I'm remembering correctly.
I think
we're going to be playing 5th edition D&D, which is pretty easy for new players.
Well, the thing is, though, is like it's, you know, finger quote one off. But if it ends up being a lot of fun and going well, it's not like we can't, you know,
right,
do more. Return to the scene of the crime. I've also been watching more D&D drama on YouTube in preparation. And it's funny just how every community has drama. Like, and it's kind of the same drama. Like, I don't know. It's funny, like, when you discover sort of a new hobby or genre or whatever we're going to call it. And it's like, it's the same drama, just different people with different, you know, because it's D&D rather than toy collecting or... About a year ago, I went on a deep dive, apparently, the knitting world. There's all kinds of drama in knitting world. And again, it's kind of the same drama as every other community has. It's just slightly different.
Knitting is
I
interesting. There's more and more like, I don't know what the right terminology is for that age, like 20 something guys who are like getting into knitting.
Yeah.
Like my friend's brother is in his like early 20s and he's starting to knit. And it's just not the people that you would expect to be knitting.
Well, it's funny. Some of the drama I watched last year was because of that. Like, there's sort of this new demographic, and you've got a bunch of gatekeeper types who are like, I don't trust these people. They're just doing it for clicks. And then of course there are the people like, it's great. New people are coming to our hobby. It's great. And then there are people, this isn't a hobby. This is a way to survive. And it's just funny watching all of it, right? You've got those people in every community, right? Where it's like, they don't realize it's, even if they realize it's gatekeeping, it's fine because it's like noble. The reason they're wanting to keep the sanctity of the hobby, and it's kind of odd. Like, it's a human thing, like where it's like, and there are always people like, if we don't get new people, our hobby dies. And for knitting, like there's a lot of like, knitting is like a human expression. Like the more people doing it, the better. And I don't know, it just cracks me up. Like, it's sort of the same thing you see, like, especially in nerd sort of hobbies, like Star Wars and stuff. Like, like anytime new Star Wars happens and there are new fans, it's like, oh my god, all these new fans don't know what they're talking about and they're ruining the hobby. And it's just, I don't know. Yes, Superpowers Wave 2 was revealed, and it's exciting. A really nice selection of figures. I'm a little miffed that Wildcat has a belt because he doesn't have one on his costume. And because of that, I did not think it was actually Wildcat. I thought it was a different character. And I feel like Todd specifically made the figure wrong as an attack upon me. So. How Todd is.
What's going on with that? Because doesn't Mattel have that DC license now? So is there going to be?
They have the DC license used to be twofold. There was sort of the kids line, which Spin Masters had, and then there was sort of the adult collector thing, and that's what Todd has. And Todd won't have that after I think the end of this year. And then Mattel will take that over. The Spin Master one is over, which is why Mattel is already doing.
Yeah, I saw some Mattel stuff on BBTS, and I was surprised at how affordable it looked. Like they were,
such as my Flash here, which I bought from BBTS. I was ordering other things through BBTS. They had it. It was like $11, $12.
Yeah, they're really cheap.
Cool. I pre-ordered the Joker and the Robin. I did not get the Batman because the Batman in this is available in a Clayface 2-pack, and I think I want the Clayface 2-pack, so I'm going to wait till I can find that. But I like the price points. I like the price point of the Mattel. It's the one reason I wish I liked more of the way the core figures looked, because the price point on those are really good. I will say, in this economy, Mattel has given me several reasons to like feel okay with picking up items. So, but yeah, so McFarlane will have like superpower. I think there's, after the one they just revealed, there's 2 more waves of superpowers before he can't make toys anymore because of the way the license, when his time frame is over.
Right.
So I think he, let's see, it's what, June, and there are 2 more waves, and I think the next wave will be released, I think, in July, and I think the one after that will be at the beginning of August, and then after that, he's done with, I think that's when the license ends, as far as him being able to solicit new items, and I think if I remember correctly, he can still like release stuff that's already been announced and solicited through like the end of the fall. So he's almost at the end, so he's sort of taking advantage of it, which I'm fine. He's finally giving us some figures that I want, and I'm not going to complain about that. Like, Raven and Starfire have long been on my wish list, even though Wildcat has the wrong belt, because he shouldn't have a belt, Todd. I'm still excited to get Wildcat and Superpowers scale. And I like the Dr. Midnight, and Black Adam is cool. He's not
I hadn't
sort
seen
of,
that wave. I saw the I guess it's the wave before that has Supergirl and Power Girl and Eradicator and the old Hal Jordan.
Yeah, and then Earth 2 Robin.
Yeah.
So that's a pretty
That
good
looked
wave.
cool.
The old Hal Jordan is the only one in that wave where I was like, I don't know about that, guys. But, you know, for people who like old Hal Jordan right before he turned evil and killed all the Green Lanterns, who have all been brought back from the dead by this point. You know, it's 90s Hal Jordan. So all I need Todd to do is give me Beast Boy, aka Changeling from the New Teen Titans, and Wonder Girl / Donna Troy from the New Teen Titans. And I will I won't forgive him for all the years without women figures and superpowers, but I will be less judgmental of him for it. Because Supergirl, Power Girl, Raven, and Starfire are all really strong releases. And are characters that have been on my list in Superpowers since he announced he was bringing it back. So, you did all right, Todd. You didn't do great, but you've done all right, and you're ending on a high note. So, I'll give you that. For Superpowers red outfit with yellow stars, just like George Perez used to draw. If he were still doing Superpowers for another year or two, also the black outfit with the stars, with the star filled on it. But for Superpowers, I need classic Donna Troy red jumpsuit, yellow stars, Titan Wolfman Perez era. The figure I should have been able to find on toy shelves in 1985 or 1986. Thanks, Kenner. I mean, this all goes back to Kenner. Not giving us a Cheetah, not giving us Wonder Girl, not giving us Starfire, Raven, or Supergirl, or Catwoman, even though all of those characters were in their original pitch to Kenner. And speaking of, since we've organically worked around to this, there's a little podcast called Toy Geeks starring Jay Glatfelder. I think I said that right. I never say his last name because I'm never sure. And Dan Larson of Secret Galaxy that I do research for. And this week they're releasing the first episode that I did research for of Superpowers 1984. So go watch that.
Oh, cool.
When it hits this week. So, and there will be more. We're doing the entire Vintage Kenner Superpowers line before their summer break for, I think, is it Comic-Con? It was just summer break, but also San Diego Comic-Con is somewhere in there. So yeah, everyone go check that out when it drops next week. It was a fun one to research. Because that one in 1984, that was a toy line that my brother and I did toy hunt. Every week we would hit Walmart, Walgreens, KB Toy Store. Walgreens is odd, but every so often they would get figures before anywhere else. So it was like Walmart, Walgreens, KB Toys, and then our Kroger grocery store had a massive toy aisle. So those were the places you checked. And then sometimes we could get our parents to take us to the Howards, which was where they usually had the best Star Wars figures. So That was where we found the first Return of the Jedi figures. My first one was the Emperor's Royal Guard in 1983. That's where I got my vintage Orange Blossom Strawberry Shortcake doll. So, or service merchandise sometimes. But service merchandise was always expensive, so.
Wow, service merchandise. That's a name I haven't heard in a long time. We never had one, but I'm familiar with the name.
Yeah. Ours was originally a United, and then service merchandise popped them out. So. But they were still expensive regardless if it was United or service merchandise. But that's where I got my Starburst She-Ra figure, because I had her before anyone else. That's where I got almost all of my GoBots, and whenever the GoBots were all marked down and they were no longer going to carry them, they put them, like hundreds of GoBots in a dump bin for like $2.
Oh wow!
So that was whenever my weekly toy allowance was $10. So not only did I spend $10 of my money, but my mom was like, "Well, if there's all $2, so we did probably spend $200 or $300 that week at service, and it was all $2 dump bin GoBots. I didn't have to buy GoBots ever again after that, though. So
I bet
we had everything. He does say that. What? And that's the thing. Whenever this is what I'm going to caution all of you about the Masters of the Universe movie, because there are a lot of people out there like, oh, it flopped hard. Not really, because originally Amazon was only going to release it direct to streaming. And their goal was they were going to release it direct to streaming, and it was going to be part of them doing a She-Ra show, Masters of the Universe movie special stuff. And then they liked what they were seeing so much that they decided to give it a theatrical run. So based on what Amazon's plans for Masters of the Universe originally was, like anything they made theatrically is basically extra. That wasn't
just a bonus.
Yeah, I think people need to remember that in 2026 films are different, and there are some things that make a lot of money at box office now but don't do as well on streaming. This is totally a streaming thing, so they were at one point one of the ones, service merchandise. Sometimes when they would do the where you got to look through the showroom, where like your face would be in the little bubble floating through the prize room at Wheel of Fortune, a lot of that was service merchandise. Yeah, they were fun. So that's where I got some of my Power of the Force. That's where my C-3PO carrying case for Power of the Force came from. That's where, what else did I get there? Oh, they had whenever Kenner Hasbro was doing the collector series Star Wars 12-inch figures, that they had and I still have her over in the glass cabinet, the 12-inch Princess Leia and Hoth gear. So I think the last thing they had that I specifically went to buy before the one closest to my parents closed down and went out of business was they had the 12-inch Batman and Robin figures, and that was the only place you could get a 12-inch Alicia Stone Batgirl. So I did not ever end up buying her, but that's one of the ones I follow on eBay, and it's usually like with shipping it's usually like $20-$30, which for a 12-inch figure in today's economy is still a pretty good price. It's probably one I'll pick up this year or beginning of next year, depending on when I get that far and filling in collection holes, but it's a pretty cool figure. I mean, it's hideous because Hasbro's 12-inch figures in that era were not pretty. Save their 12-inch Catwoman doll from the same time frame. Otherwise, not pretty.
Are those like the 12 inches that have like waist, head, and arm movement, and that's it?
They had full body range, but like They were basically GI Joe bodies, so they were thicker and which of course was in line with Power of the Force, but just thicker and bulkier and like just not great. Like, I mean, we all bought them anyway because after the Kenner, the vintage Star Wars large size figures are among some of the most rare and coveted items from the vintage Star Wars line. So most of us bought all of them just because. And it was the first time we got a 12-inch Lando Calrissian. And his head sculpt was really good. Too bad about the box. I think I still have my Lando in one of these boxes somewhere. I should find him, and if so, find a better body sculpt for him. And then do an outfit transplant. So.
I think I'm done. I tried to do some blending, but the Crayola ones don't
We are
blend as well.
Yeah, Crayola is not as good at blending. All right, let me maximize you really quick. There we go. Very nice. That's a good background, though. And even though it didn't blend for your sky, that's still pretty good for a sky. So, excellent.
I think I did similar with I did a He-Man, the first He-Man, and I did a similar.
Yeah, no, that's if your pencils don't blend, that's a really good way to get an effect. A sky effect is just sort of layer them that way. Yeah, I've got I think I got that Crayola set because that was what you were using, maybe. And I wanted to do an episode with you. Mine has a fancier box. It's the same set. Well, I put them in a pencil case. For a while, though, that was my travel set that I would travel with. So I did not finish mine. But I got She-Ra and Swiftwind. Let's see if it'll focus. Focus. There we go. If I move the pencil. Oh, StreamYard, you keep trying to take over my camera, and then, there we go. Just had to put it on a face. So, I got quite a bit of it. I did She-Ra at least. Finished Swiftwind. I'll get him at some point. I'm going to assume that they won't include the Catcher romance and I think She-Ra is supposed to be a series. It looks like they're going to do more of a classic 80s version of She-Ra.
Just based on what they did in the after credits scene.
So this is, and I'll address this really quick before we wrap up. I'm not a fan of the She-Ra and Catcher romance in the DreamWorks series. It's not because She-Ra's dating a girl. I'm fine with that. My issue is Catcher is abusive and spends that entire series trying to harm She-Ra, so for them to turn into a couple, I feel normalizes abuse, and I'm not okay with that.
Yeah, it's a pretty toxic relationship.
Yeah, if they had made Catcher like less destructive towards She-Ra for the series, I would have been fine with it. But I don't like anything that justifies. I know that the whole like enemies to lovers is like a whole genre, but like not so much for me. So anyway, just want to address that really quick because I do agree. But if they were to do the show and Catcher is never never tries to kill She-Ra, I would be fine with it. So, thank you.
Yeah, thank you, everybody.
No. All right. So I guess. All right, I can minimize that. All right, really quick. Johnny, where can the people find you?
That's a great question. You can check out GTFO, though. We've been on a very extended hiatus. GTFO channel at YouTube. Lucha Johnny on what is it? Instagram.
Yep.
And then the Sundered Veil, when we release Sundered Veil season 3, will be it's recorded, but we kind of do like a pseudo premiere. Like we live stream the recording on Twitch. It's Diced Thespians, and I'll put that in the
excellent. Yeah.
In the chat.
Also, I'm throwing a link to Geek the F Out. For those not subscribing, you guys are at 489 subscribers. So if you're watching this now and have not subscribed, go ahead and go and get Kayla and Johnny if you can over 500. So that when they do have time to start making episodes and doing streams again, they've got the 500. There's also older content on there that I'm on. So like, go catch up. There's a casual chat with Quip, friends of the channel, and Ralph, and Brick is on there too, as well as Chris Placid. So technically is out there. Geek the F Out is part of the Alice and Troy extended universe, so go check it out.
And then with the Sundered Veil also, I will be doing sort of edited remasters of the first 2 seasons.
Okay.
And putting them on a dedicated The Sundered Veil YouTube channel.
All right.
The YouTube channel is up, but there's no content on it yet, and I don't know when I'll start uploading. But I'll promote that when it starts to
let us know when we can go
actually happen as well.
Subscribe. Yep. Okay, there it is. Let's see. And Dice Thespians also has a YouTube channel.
Yeah, some of the first season of Sundered Veil is up there, but it's only like the first 6 episodes. Before,
it looks like it's been 3 years since you guys uploaded there. But just in case people are wanting to check that out, there is a link. There we go. So there's also the Dice Thespians. I'll go ahead and subscribe because, that way if you do any updates for more stuff, it'll let me know. All right. Yeah, exactly, Alex. All right, so go check Johnny out at those places. Let's see, really quick for here on Alice and Troy Retro Toy Princess. Let's see what is coming up. Tomorrow. All right, here we go. Tomorrow, I'm dropping a new video where I tried the color pencil neon set, 50 pencils in neon colors. Check that out. Spoiler alert, I was not a fan. Streams all this week. Shorts all this week. Wednesday night, we are having a Masters of the Universe version of Retro Cavalcade, where myself, Derek, and Andrew of Gaiety's Toys, plus special guest Colt of Dad at Arms and Chris Plastic are all going to be talking about the Masters of the Universe movie that just came out. Friday, Color and Chill Barbie and the Rockers. And then on Saturday, I'm dropping Marvel Heroic Coloring, that book I did a flip through almost a year ago. I colored 8 pages in it. A whole video for you to hang out with on Saturday. And then next Sunday, I will be here live streaming on my own. We'll be coloring Rainbow Bright. And I'll just be chatting. So come hang out at some point this next week. And Friday, almost forgot, extra special live stream Friday night with Cobb of Cobweb Collector channel. And we're going to be coloring in this Masters of the Universe coloring book. Because, like MOTU, my friends, all the people I hang out with on YouTube, it's their thing. And it's MOTU month, guys. And for a sneak peek, I'm going to color this page of Evelyn, which is an update of the page I did in an earlier video. So come see if I'm any better than I was 3 years ago. Because I hope I am. Anyway, on that note, thank you everyone for hanging out with us today. Thank you, Johnny. It's good to hang out again. It's been too long.
For sure.
I'll have you back. And plus, we will soon have D&D stuff to talk about. So
yes. Yeah, that'll be a lot of fun.
Quentin, it's not horribly expensive. I think you will like it. And if you have ever wanted a vintage Masters of the Universe coloring book, this has some of the best art from all the vintage ones for a fraction of the price. So definitely, if you're thinking about it, you should get it. I think everyone will love it. I would love it more if I didn't already have all the vintage books. So, but With that
And who
said,
knows? Maybe if this one does well enough, they'll do another one.
I'm gonna assume they will because every couple of years it's part. They did one for Revelations. This one they did instead of a movie-centric one, which I think is smart. Whether the movie does well or not with audiences, this vintage one seems to be doing well. It's in a lot of my feeds.
I think I got the Revolution one. Wasn't that a little weird in that it was like there was something with the line art, and I feel like I remember you saying something about it. It's like they just took the line art wasn't done with a coloring book in mind. I think is what you had said.
It was the art was very small. In some places. Yeah, it wasn't done in a way that made it easy to color because there were a lot of tiny, tiny details. So, yep, that is accurate. Yeah, $20 at Walmart, not a bad price for everything you get in the book. So, anyway, on that note, we should wrap it up. It's 2 hours. And we're going to leave you with this question, this burning question since 1984 that I've been wondering. Johnny's been wondering. Phoebe Cates has been wondering. So
I haven't made up my mind yet. Incidentally, which one of you bitches is my mother? I haven't made up my mind yet. Incidentally, which one of you bitches is my mother?